All right, for this episode of Listen to This Loser podcast, I'm going to be talking about credit cards because I definitely believe that they present a really big issue in society, specifically American society. I haven't lived outside of the U.S., so I don't know how big of a problem credit cards present themselves to be. Like, in Canada or Europe or in Asian countries or whatever, I don't know. But specifically, I'm going to be referring to the United States. I'm not going to go over what a credit card is, but mainly the purpose of them. The purpose of them, that's a little bit hard to nail down. I would say they are a tool to help you build credit so that you can ideally purchase better things in the future. They are for you to build credit. They are also for you to be able to spend money you may not have at the moment, but still buy one. Like, say, you probably don't make that much money, but you really want this really big 55-inch TV or whatever, and it costs, $1,000. Maybe it's some really awesome LG, Samsung, whatever it could be, and it costs more than you made this week. You could purchase it, and then on your next paycheck, you're like, all right, on my next paycheck, I'll just pay it all off. That's kind of what credit cards do for individuals. Now, one could argue, and I definitely argue, is that if you don't have the money, you probably shouldn't be buying it no matter what. Yeah, that's basically what I'm going to be talking about. Those are what basically credit cards are used for, to buy things that you can't really afford or to build credit so that you can one day at least get a good deal on a car, or more importantly, a house. Now, I've never owned a credit card. I'm nearly 30 and I've never owned a credit card. I've never needed one. Like, I have a car. I've never been a homeowner, but I've lived in apartments. I've never really had much of a problem getting one. Now, actually, I want to segue into that right quick. If having a good credit score and a good history on your credit reports and all that could help you get apartments easier than some others. There are some people who, maybe it's for upper scale apartments. I have no experience with getting a very upper scale apartment that costs like more than $1,500 a month or something crazy, or over 2,000. I never lived in those. I never felt the need to. But for those, they probably do look at your credit history and your credit score just to see if you're a worthy tenant to have that kind of apartment. But for me personally, for the lower level apartments, they just want to know that you have a job. That way they can count on you to be able to make your payments on time, and they won't have any issues with you in the future. Now, that could be one purpose for credit cards in terms of apartments, but I really wouldn't worry about it unless you do plan on just living in very big, luxurious, expensive apartments. So I've never needed one, ever. And the only reason I would ever probably need one is definitely to get a house one day. But I don't, right now, currently, I don't plan on ever having one. I plan on moving around a lot, hopefully in the future, if I can get a career started. I probably will not be nailed down to one place, so I'd rather just not have the responsibility of a house and have to deal with, the hassle of having to sell it and all that type of stuff. But I could just, live apartment to apartment. That's why. But the reason I'm obviously talking about credit cards and all this is because of credit card debt. If it wasn't for credit card debt, I wouldn't even be, talking right now. Because too many people, especially young people in this country, and I'm not even going to nail down young as in under 30. This is going for people that are probably under 45, maybe even 50. I'm just gonna say young people because they act like young people. Why not? Let's just say it. They use their credit card to buy stuff they can't afford, and they promise themselves, I'm going to pay this balance off by the end of the month, and there will be no issue. And then lo and behold, it doesn't happen, and then you're caught yourself into a big mess. And some people are like, okay, well, I let this month go, but next month I'll get it. And then they don't do that either. And they don't think about, the debt itself and then the interest rate that collects on it every single month. And the month interest rate may not seem that bad, but the annual percentage rate and the annual interest that could collect on that could be crippling. That there are some that have over 20% like APR. That's crazy. And another reason I'm bringing this up, because it's a very easy topic to bring up, is because you hear these kind of stories on Dave Ramsey's show all the time. Is that some people say things like, oh, I'm 10,000 in credit card debt, 20,000, 25, 50,000 in credit card debt. Me personally, I don't think I could ever go above $1,000 or $2,000 in any kind of debt, especially credit card debt, without freaking out saying, well, I got to get on top of this or else it's going to escape from me and then I'm going to be screwed. So I really don't know what mentality some people have where they think that it's just going to go away, that, their lender, their credit card issuer is not going to one day just come after them and like sue you for getting that money back. Because some people just think that, their problems will just go away if they ignore it. No. That's crazy. Like, you hear some of these stories on Dave Ramsey's podcast. He's like, yeah, American Express is suing me, or whatever else. Like, they're getting sued by their credit card issuer because they haven't paid their bills in 2 years or something. It's crazy. So one way to stop doing this, and I'm just to put this statement out there, I'm not saying don't get a credit card ever, but I just want to put that out there. But what I'm also saying is don't buy shit you can't afford. If you have a low skill, low wage job, you shouldn't be buying you shouldn't be buying rims for your car, a 55-inch TV, like all these things that are going to cripple you financially, especially on a credit card. Now, if you've saved a lot of money and you really want to treat yourself, that's fine, because in that instance, I would assume you would be paying in cash, because then you obviously can afford it. But if you can't afford it, like if you only make, $1,000 or less a paycheck, that's probably not a good idea to go out and get, a $700 to $1,200 TV, and then, you have other bills and obligations to pay. So that's the biggest problem, is that people are just using their credit card because they're like, well, I don't have to pay for it now, I'll just pay for it later. I'll get to it. I'll just make some monthly payments, and then I'll eventually pay it off. And then lo and behold, they have to call the Dave Ramsey show one day. So don't buy stuff you can't afford. If you don't have the cash for it, you can't afford it. And as some people say, oh, it'll work if you're just responsible. Just take a look at the world around you, all the news that you see. How many people are really responsible these days? I'm starting to think not that many, and I think it's declining each and every year, that more and more people are becoming less and less responsible. I have no faith in the responsibility of the people and the citizenship at large in this country. No. So, I think that would be a good principle to live by, is like, only if you can't afford it in cash, like if you don't have the money for it in cash, and I don't mean cash paper in your hand, but I'm just saying in your checking account or something, then you can't afford it, so don't get it. Especially if you have other bills and stuff to pay for. That's when a prepaid debit card would probably help you better, because then, I don't know, I've only really used one bank for the most of my life, and having a prepaid debit card would say $500 to $1,000 on it. That way, that's like probably your shopping card, your e-commerce card, whatever that you go out and shop with, and whatever it is, a TV, clothes, video games, whatever you want to buy with it, at least you can't go above that amount. You're like, my limit for the month, or like just on this card, is $1,000, and if it ever gets down to zero, I can't overdraft on, I can't do anything like beyond $1,000, so I have to repay it. That's a good way to budget yourself. A prepaid debit card, not a credit card. So just something to keep in mind. That way you can at least keep yourself in check, because some people just really need to do a better job of keeping themselves in check, and they're not these days. Go on Dave Ramsey's show, just watch a few of his videos, you'll find that it'll be made crystal clear to you about that. Now, do you 100% need one in life? No, not 100% you don't. You can, I've lived nearly to 30 and I've never had one, and I haven't really had any setbacks. I have, but not regarding to credit card. Like, I've never been in credit card debt, and it's a good feeling to have, because a lot of people are like, wow, I'd really like to be in your shoes right now. Like, I know. So that's what I'm saying. I've never had credit card debt. So I don't know that, like, because I've always paid with things with my debit cards and like cash and stuff and checks, because that's money I had, because it's money I made and saved. So do you 100% need one? No, but they do have value. They do have an importance. Now, if you're a very responsible person, and like you've had one forever, you've never been in credit card debt because you've always made your balances on time, then I could see you as a person that does deserve and use a credit card responsibly. So you should have one. Or if you've always been responsible, if you're a person like you're still young, you've never really had one before, but you want to get one, but you're a responsible person, you know that about yourself. You're scared of debt, you take it seriously, you know that you shouldn't be buying things you can't afford, and you should only be using it for certain things, or just to build credit. Like, you just really want to use it to help build credit, to help to one day make better purchases for yourself and invest in things like a new house or whatever, then yes, I think you're the type of person that should have one. But there are so many people who are getting like credit cards like candy from banks and all these other issuers that will just give you a credit card, and then they give them to them. They have like a job where they make like $20,000 to $30,000 a year or less, whatever, and then they wind up in a huge mess where they're like in a year or two they end up owing $10,000 or more because they just let the bills and stuff get away from them, and they try to live a rich lifestyle or Instagram lifestyle on a credit card, just being really stupid. Now, obviously, my big statement is don't if you're not responsible. If you're not responsible, do not get one. If you are, yes, get one, because building that credit and having a good credit score in the future can really benefit you. So that's basically just what I want to say. This is going to be a really short episode. It's mostly a rant because, like, I'm gonna do a little research at the moment. Let's see, credit card debt in United States. U.S. credit card debt hit $870 billion, the largest amount ever as of December 2018, according to the data from the Federal Reserve. And I used to hear that it was like I thought it was nearly $1 trillion. Maybe that was for card debt, but that's crazy. I used to believe that. I thought somebody put out that it was like $1 trillion in credit card debt, but maybe that was just for, auto loans and stuff like car debt. But still, over like nearly 900 billion, I'd like damn near $1 trillion. That's insane, and that's like a collective just one country, a country of over 300 million people, but they owe almost $1 trillion in credit card debt. Insanity. So that's what I'm saying. This is a really huge problem, and it just further shows, like just like my last episode with student loans in college and stuff, people are not making good decisions. They're not thinking about things. They're being very irresponsible, and I don't know if somebody's influencing them, like the people they follow on Instagram or whatever, but they're buying crap they can't afford to please people they'll probably never meet or don't even like. So that's just where I'm going to end it. Don't get a credit card if you're irresponsible. If you really just be honest with yourself, if you know you're not a responsible person, you should not get one. If you are, yes, if you use it the right way, if you are using it knowing, yes, I could incur debt from this, but I'm a responsible person who will pay it off, and I want to have a good credit score. I'm doing this to have a good credit score and a good credit history so that one day I'll get a house and that will be that. Then there you go. That's basically where I'm just going to leave it off. A lot of people are not thinking about it that way, but hopefully more people will. And yep, this concludes this episode. And my next episode, who knows, it'll probably be about cars and having kids you can't afford, but we'll see. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.